Welcome to Living Resilient. Remember, this is a podcast that celebrates everyday ordinary men and women who are showing resilience in one area of their lives or the other. Today we have Katie Watson, who is a mental advocate, and she's here to share her own story and the reason why she launched a networking and social event in awareness of mental health. So Katie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much for driving 2 hours to attend this session.
Of course.
The very first thing in the tradition here in the podcast is getting to know our guest.
Absolutely.
So who would you say Katie is? And how has your background or your upbringing influenced you or made you who you are today?
Yeah, so I would say I'm a very happy person just now. I'm very happy with where I am in my career. I'm really enjoying doing these events. Graduated in politics and international relations, but I think it is quite important to note that my life hasn't always been like that. There's a lot of challenges I've faced to get me to where I am today and to make me so passionate about hosting these events. It actually got to the point where at school I was told I shouldn't be going to university because of my mental health challenges. So, to go from that to then graduating with an honours degree and being in a job where I love and getting all these opportunities, I really want to help inspire other people. So I was born in England and I lived there until about the age of 5.
Okay.
And then from there I moved to Aberdeenshire, where again I had to repeat primary 1 because England you start a year earlier.
Yeah.
So I repeated primary 1 and then I was at that school until primary 4, where I moved to Aberdeen City.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is probably where a lot of the mental health struggles started, because I was joining a school where everyone had made their friends. It was quite isolating. It could be quite hard. That was my third primary school I had attended. And I think it was around that age, the age of 8 or 9, we were starting to realise that, I had these mental health problems. I was not your typical child growing up, and I was going to live a very different childhood. It was probably about primary 6, primary 7, I was 9 or 10 when my teachers pulled my mum aside and said, I had some quite heavy coping mechanisms in place. But it was once I went to secondary school at the age of 12, so I'm 22 years old now. It's exactly 10 years ago that I was diagnosed with depression. And
So sorry to cut you. So as a young child, you said about 9, 10.
Yeah.
So what were these symptoms? I mean, how would you say, if you could remember as far back as then?
So it's hard because when you I don't know if you'll experience this, but when you go through something so traumatic, I can't really remember much of it.
Yeah.
So I don't remember much of my childhood, but I remember I was very cripplingly shy. I think I had anxiety from the day I was born, sort of thing. I was cripplingly shy. I wasn't eating. I was very reserved. I was really angry. I was always upset and stuff. And, I just was not your normal child.
And so moving over to Aberdeenshire, kind of complicated the whole thing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think I always would have had these
exacerbated
struggles.
it.
Yes, yeah, but I think it kind of got worse when my social skills were impacted. And then, obviously, when I was diagnosed in secondary school, I was always out of school, in hospital appointments, taken out of the classroom. I couldn't live, and I've had to grieve my childhood because I didn't have a childhood. I wish I had just, had a couple more years, but I didn't. And I think because of that, again, my social skills were really affected because no one could relate to me. I wasn't like any other 12-year-old sort of thing. I was having these really heavy, deep and dark thoughts, and everyone else was figuring out who they are, their personality, what they like, and I didn't have any of that. And that is probably still something that I'm trying to process and still something I'm trying to come to terms with. But it was probably about 5th or 6th year, I realised I don't want to be this person anymore. I want to be successful. There's
5th or 6th year of what? Of secondary
school. So okay. It was from about the ages of 12 to 16. Things were really bad. And then obviously everyone started talking about university, and I thought, this is my opportunity. I'm going to reinvent myself. I'm going to be this confident girl because no one will know me. No one will know any different. They won't know that it's an act. You know, throughout my school life, everyone knew I had mental health difficulties. All the teachers knew because it was marked on my record, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it was almost like everyone was walking on eggshells with me.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to, you know, tip the boat or get to know me too close. So obviously, COVID,
So
university.
you didn't, obviously you didn't like that, and you
No.
had to like make make the intention to not be that way. So you said in your fifth or sixth year, that's when you were like, no, I can't live like this anymore. I want to go to university
Absolutely.
and maybe create a social life.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. I think it can be quite hard once you go through something so young because a lot of people just make that your identity. You know,
Yeah,
that's how
yeah.
they
And
view
that
you.
wasn't what you weren't comfortable
No.
with that.
And you know, when people automatically assume you're going to be this really shy girl and you're struggling with your health, it can be really hard to break out of that stereotype, which is why I think it was, you know, it was hard to get out of. And I really needed university to break out of that stereotype. But then obviously COVID hit. And again, I was inside for 3 years. I didn't meet anyone from university, and that was hard because you know I
Yeah.
had pictured in my head university is going to be this big break. I'll reinvent myself. I'm going to be, you know, this happy person. I'm going to focus on my career. I'm finally going to be in standard lessons, and then I'm not. And you know, it was really quite hard to not meet any friends from university. I mean, we went back to the classroom in my fourth year, but I was doing my dissertation, so you've no classes for that. So, you know, I really did struggle.
Sorry, Katie, to cut you. So I want to just go back a wee bit. So at that year five, year six, obviously you were a teenager
Yeah.
at that point when you began to realize that no, I don't want to be this person,
Yeah.
this label, you know, how people are labeling me. What were those things you did? I am assuming you must have done some things intentionally to try to, you know, get yourself out there or maybe make friends. What are those things that you actually did, if you could remember,
Yeah, of
in
course.
order to break out of that?
Yeah, so I'm
shell?
really passionate about just going outside your comfort zone
Yeah.
every day. And you know, like at the first day, going outside my comfort zone was something as simple as, you know, eating in the cafeteria, you know, actually sitting through a school lesson. But if each day you go out your comfort zone even the tiniest bit more, you know, by the end of the year it was, you know, hold a conversation. And you know, when I went to university, I went against, you know, anything I had ever done before, and I decided I want to be a cheerleader. I went to the cheerleading club by myself. I was the only one by myself. Everyone knew everyone. But I walked in and I told myself, I'm going to make them all think I'm confident, I'm happy, I do this all the time. I'm going to make them think this is me and I'm not affected. So I went in and I acted it out, and then, you know, joining cheerleading was one of the best things I did for really developing.
Katie, how did you do that? Because I know it's not easy for some people. So did you read something? Were you listening to some podcast, motivational speech? I mean, what gave you that, you know, confidence? Because I know if you say you've had that and then all of a sudden you're going into a space where no one knows you, and you know, how did you, there should have been something, maybe a voice in your head, you know, giving you, you know, go ahead, telling you.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
So I think I just knew like I wanted better for myself. I needed to do better. I have, you know, the most supportive parents in the world, and I knew like I need to do this for them. But most of all, I need to do it for myself. You know, I deserve to live a life. I've not had a childhood, but I can make it, I can turn it around so that I have an adulthood.
Yeah.
You know, I can really try and focus myself. And like I say, it's a case of acting. You know, when you go into a room with a group of strangers, you can be whoever you want to be and they're not going to know any different. So, you know, that's why it's really helped in my career as well, that I can go into these rooms, no one has the identity of me, apart from, you know, people back at school and things. So I think, you know, it's just sort of telling yourself, I deserve more, you know, I'm capable of great things. And, you know, you can either use it to make or break you. And it sounds cliche, but it's true.
Absolutely.
And I think you just need to tell yourself, like, this is going to make a great success story. Like, I am going to use what I've gone through to help other people and, you know, to inspire other people. And I think, because life can be hard, it can definitely be challenging, but definitely just trying to push yourself out your comfort zone, say yes to everything, and honestly, fake it till you make it. It's kind of what helped me.
Yeah. I mean, that's really a good one, pushing yourself outside your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, your willingness to even share your story, it's really something I think I would appreciate, and a lot of other people listening
Yeah, thank
to
you.
your story would appreciate it, because not very many people are comfortable sharing the fact that they've gone through this. I mean, as way back as how young you were,
Yeah.
you know, and but I think the good thing is that for you, why I mean you're resilient is that you at when you reach that age, obviously you're a bit more matured,
Mm-hmm.
and you realize that this is not who you want to be, this is not the person you want to be, this is not how you want to be seen as. You took that conscious effort,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to go into places where no one knows you. And I can imagine how daunting that could
Oh,
be
you've
for
no
someone
idea.
that is.
My mum actually waited outside because she didn't think I'd manage.
No, it takes a lot of willpower, and yeah, so that's really, really good. Thank you for sharing that bit. So now, you started saying talking about COVID. So by this time you were in university,
Mm-hmm.
lockdown happened.
Yeah.
So did you have a relapse? Did you, you know?
It's hard because, it will never be as bad as it was when I was 12, no matter whatever happens. I
Okay.
mean, it was something that I'm probably, I think I'm probably still dealing with the effects of it now that I'm old enough to process just how bad it was and, just how much it disrupted my childhood and stuff. I mean, of course, I still had bad days, and COVID definitely was a struggle. But I think, once you, it's easier said than done, but I really worked on switching my mindset to being, I deserve more, I am going to be more. I was not meant to go down in life without a fight. I was meant to go and battle and be the best person I can be.
Did you read books? So did you, because the things you're saying, I mean, I've heard them, people say it from inspirational speakers, from books, like all these motivational books. Did you read a lot, or it was just something in you knowing that you're much more than
Just
what you
something
were
in
going
me.
through?
Yeah, I just knew. I mean, my parents, they were honestly
But yeah,
massive
they really
anchors.
supported you. They used to
Oh,
speak to
yeah.
you.
I hate to think what they went through, seeing me go through that at such a young age. It must have been horrific, but they really, they couldn't have been better. And it's instilled in me, you are capable of great things. You can go on and still
So they used to
achieve
say
great
those
things.
things to you.
Yes.
Okay.
And it got to the
Okay.
point when I thought, like, I need to do this for them and for myself as well. It's important you also do stuff for yourself. But I knew, like, my parents believe in me. I need to show them
That's
that
good, yeah.
it's right,
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
thing.
So your parents were really instrumental
Oh,
to
yeah, absolutely.
your recovery.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Without a doubt.
that's
Definitely.
great. That's great. Okay. Okay, so sorry, I keep taking you back
No,
to
go
university
for
now.
it.
So university, you started, obviously the lockdown or
Yeah.
affected so many people really.
Mhm.
So how was that for you, and how did you cope during the 2 years?
Yeah. So not very well, to be honest. So I had obviously, as I said, I was advised not to go to university because they didn't think I'd cope.
Who advised you? Who gave you that
My
advice?
careers advisor at school,
At school.
which I'm not annoyed at her for because I understand, but again.
So why she said you're not cut out for university in
Yes.
terms of the stress involved,
Yes,
and it may
absolutely,
affect.
yeah.
Okay.
Sort of thing. So obviously I went to university, and yeah, in first year it was a big struggle. I still kind of had that mark on my name of being, mentally ill. And I got rubbish grades because I was really struggling to stay in the lecture halls, it was just quite hard. But it's just a thing of taking time, knowing that I was born to, like, defy all odds. That's just what's been instilled in me, and that's what.
I like that. And your parents instilled that in you.
Yes, yeah,
That's
definitely.
beautiful, honestly. I like that.
I know that I needed to do that, and there's no other option. I just had that switch. There's no other option. I need to be the best I can be, and it's about finding what gives you drive and success. For me, that was going to work, focusing on my career. I'm literally, I couldn't be happier in my life because I love, where I am.
What you're doing.
I love meeting people. I have a job where I have to go out and meet people.
Exactly,
Which
opposite of what you were doing. Opposite of who you were years ago.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's just amazing, and I got really lucky with my job at Chamber. I have to say they're so supportive of me. They're really good for helping me progress. But, you know, even for any students watching this, I struggled. You know, everyone tells you, oh, this is going to be, these are the best years of your life. And I found that was really quite hard because it wasn't, and it's not always for some people. So I'd like to remind people they were not the best years of my life. These are. And I think it can be quite hard if you're in university, if you don't have a routine. If, you know, sometimes you're in class until 5 p.m., sometimes you finish at 9 a.m., sometimes you're working your job outside of university until 11 p.m., 12 a.m. And I think I struggled with the routine as well. So it's really been when I've left university and found my passion for work that I have really
Kind
grown
of
into who I am.
settled.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So were you working when you were in school as a
Yes.
student? You did part-time?
Yeah, I had a couple part-time jobs, you know, they were all fine, but obviously it was when I went to the chamber I found my drive for working and for, you know, progressing in every sense of the word, and where I realised, you know what, I'm getting a platform now. I want to be able to help other people through my events.
But it must have really been tough, and either which way, you going through university and also working. I mean, juggling all that
Oh yeah, yeah.
must have been tough.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's definitely really hard, especially on top of, you know, any mental health struggles, you know. And again, I'm trying to develop my social skills because, to be honest, I'm probably a good few years behind at this point.
You say that, Katie. I don't see that. I mean, I've met you before today, and I didn't even know, not at all. No,
But at the time,
you're doing very, very well. I'm telling you.
But no, it needed a lot of work. You know, I think everything's a skill, and once you realize that as humans, we can learn to do literally any skill.
Absolutely.
And socializing and talking to people, that's a skill as well, and it's something you can learn.
Yeah.
As well as being confident, something you can learn. You can learn all these things, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. They think, oh, I'm just shy. You don't have to be shy. You don't have to live your life shy, sort of thing.
So did you make friends, or how good were you at making friends in university? So like your first, second year, did you make lots of friends? Do you have like a good support network in university?
So, yeah, it was about 6 months into first year that the COVID pandemic hit.
Okay.
And before
That was March 2020.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So the 6 months before, I was kind of adjusting to university. So again, I was out the classroom more than a normal person. I'd finally settled down and COVID hit. And then I didn't see anyone. I didn't make a uni friend. I honestly probably know one or two people from my course. And I think that is really upsetting.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I've got a great group of friends right now, a really supportive group of friends, but none of them went down the same route as me as in university. Or if they did, they're a couple of years younger. So when I graduated, I had no one that was going through what I went through.
Yeah.
Or even throughout the university experience when I was writing my dissertation, or, you know, I was dealing with these end of year exams. Just someone to say, oh, are you struggling a bit as well? Or like, are you feeling the same way I'm feeling? Are you a bit scared?
Nobody.
No one there, sort of thing. You know, and you have these sort of groups where students can join, but it's kind of hard to really put yourself out there, I found. So yeah, it's difficult.
Were you ever concerned about how people would like look at you or being judged by people? So did that at any point affect the way you related with people?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, yeah, definitely. I can definitely say I was quite self-conscious of the way I would be perceived, because I know sometimes, you know, everyone has things they don't like about themselves, but because I've really had to focus on how I interact with people, I feel like I notice stuff a lot more.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's made me more observant. So sometimes I'll notice I'll get too excited in a conversation, and I'll end up, you know, being so happy that I'm speaking to someone that I'll be interrupting them, and I'll realise, okay, I need to pull it back in, Katie, come on, you know, sort of thing. So, I mean, I think it can be hard, especially, you know, when you're at this sort of age, like 18, 19, 20, it can be hard to admit you're struggling with, you know, friends or loneliness. And I think a lot of people wouldn't admit it at my age and say, you know, I don't have that certain friend group that people wanted. But it's really normal to have, you know, and it needs to be spoken about a lot more. And that's why I'm always happy to say, like, yeah, I will admit easily I struggled to find friends during the COVID pandemic, definitely.
Okay. Thank you so much for telling us that, Katie. So after the pandemic, obviously you finished, so now you finished your undergraduate degree. At what point did you feel you needed to set up to launch this event? Obviously, you've taken time to tell us your story, and that should have, I don't know, given you some ideas, maybe thinking of the fact that some people would be going through this as well,
Yeah.
silently, not speaking out. So, at what point did you think you needed to create more awareness about mental health and setting up the networking and social event?
Yeah, so it'd been something I had known for quite a while, but as I'm progressing in my career, I'm nearly a year in, it was getting to the point where I was looking back thinking, I don't know how I managed to do that. I really don't. There's so many things that people, you don't think of, like corporate lingo, workplace politics, how to dress in a work environment, how to speak professionally and perceive yourself professionally. And I think that's when I started noticing, something needs to be done for young people in particular. And it was more, I was realizing, oh, I kind of wish I had someone who had started a job at the same time as me. I was starting to think, oh, I wish I had someone, to know how that I was doing okay, that I was getting on fine. Because when you go from being a graduate into the workplace, the transition is immense.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
workload
A
is
huge jump, a huge leap.
huge jump,
Yep.
exactly. And you probably are going to be the youngest one in the office 9 times out of 10, by far, by far. So I mean, that's when I sort of realized, and it was quite a spontaneous decision, really, where I said to my mum and dad, I said, I really want to do this, and they said, well, if you want to do it, then do it. And I was like, okay. So I made a poster, put it out. I had absolutely no experience in marketing or doing anything like this. I had barely any LinkedIn followers. I didn't have a platform or anything, but I thought, I want to do it. It's outside my comfort zone. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to say yes to every opportunity.
Yeah.
And it had a really great response. And I think as well, they focus on the socializing side just as well as the networking side, because I think COVID really impacted not just me,
Yeah.
but a
A
lot
lot
of
of
people
people. Yep.
and young professionals who are now going into the workplace. Which is why, yeah, it's great to have a networking event, but it's also great to have a friend.
Yeah.
It's great to have a
I
network,
think
but
it's very
friend.
important what you've said and what you're doing, because now I know I'm going to touch on something sensitive in terms of social media. So a lot of young adults, young people are on the social media platform.
Yeah.
Well, I would say I want to hear your opinion on it. That's a whole different thing. You could be there, have followers or views, and you listen to people, but that's different from actually socializing, meeting people, speaking with people.
Absolutely.
What are your views or your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, social media has taken a big dominance, and it's just like you say, it's not the same. Um, I think as well, it can be a very toxic environment. One thing I will touch upon is, when I first got into my unhealthy coping mechanisms, there were these trends on Instagram, which is where I uncovered these things. And you know how easily influenceable trends are.
Yeah.
So it became a trend, and then it became my lifestyle, just like that, and like this flick of a switch. So people need to be careful on social media, and especially when you're chatting with your friends on social media, not good, making sure that you're meeting them outside.
Yeah.
Because you need the fresh air, you need the change of your
Absolutely.
environment.
Yep. Yeah.
I used to hate when all these therapists would say to me, oh, you need to just get some exercise, get some fresh air. I thought, please. But now I'm like, they're right. It's
Yeah,
cliche
right.
for a
Yeah.
reason, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or you need to socialize in person. It is cliche for a reason, because it really does help,
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah. No, that's good. I'm happy that you've made that point about social media, because I know it's different, and I like that you've taken time to share your story so that people, I mean, your age would know the importance of living that life on social media and actually, having friends, people that you could go out with, more outdoor activities, events, speaking to people, getting to know people. It's a whole different,
Absolutely.
and the impact of that is so huge, a positive impact compared to sitting down and you being on a screen, and
Totally,
doing all that.
100%.
So you mentioned that the event you did the first time you did it, that the turnout was really great. So could you tell us a bit about it? And I think that just tells you how people are yearning for such a thing.
Yeah, definitely. And the turnout was amazing. Everyone is so lovely. And when you do events like this, it makes you realise, there's a lot of good people and people want to see you do well.
Yeah.
Like people really were so quick to encourage it or boost it
Lots
or
of
share it.
support. Yeah.
And that's what can be so, quite heartwarming about these things, that everyone comes together, everyone, really wants to help you out. And it was just a lovely event. It was a really nice day. And I'm doing my next one in August, and it's just really exciting to see that people obviously agree that there is a need for it.
Yeah.
And that, I'm able to help people in the same way that I probably would have liked to have been helped.
Here.
But I'm still young. I'm still helping myself. I am still needing a young professional network, definitely. So it really was a win-win all around sort of thing.
Well, whatever you're doing, Katie, keep doing it, because it is great and nobody would ever know unless they now listen to your story, and I'm sure they won't even believe it like that. But I think you have come a long way.
Thank you.
And I think you've done so well. I'm sure your parents will be so happy and so proud. But I think they also deserve recognition, as in they also need to be applauded, because I think they actually they helped you in finding yourself.
Absolutely.
Coming out of what you were going through. So all those positive comments and encouraging words kind of sowed a seed in you, and at the right time started to germinate, and you started to realize that, no, this is not me. I need to get something better for myself. So thank you so much for coming to share your story, Katie. So one last thing before we wrap up. What advice would you give to a young person, let's say, your age, that's probably going through some mental health challenge as well, or even if it's just social anxiety in university or has just finished? What would you advise them? What would you like to say to them?
Yeah, I would say, be your own success story. Know that you deserve to be happy, that you just deserve to be successful and happy and really prosper in your career, and you are worthy of more. And try and get that in your head, which I know it's hard, but know that, you were born to be successful and you will be successful. And look back and say, I know this was a really hard time in my life, but it made me into who I am today. And because of it, I am who I am. And life is tough, but it's also really beautiful, and that we do need to recognize that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best in your endeavors, your events. I hope it really, really, grows and you make a huge impact in the community.
Fantastic.
So thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to the end. Remember, if you like what you've heard, please subscribe to the podcast. And remember to be encouraged, get enlightened to become empowered. Thank you, and see you in the next episode. Bye.